Over to you, sir.
Ji Ali, thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most beneficent. Dear and worthy members of PIPFA and students of PIPFA. This is Zahid Rasool Goraya, Associate Member of PIPFA and ICMA Pakistan. Today, we are going to conduct a webinar on professional ethics. The sequence of this webinar will be, first, there will be recitation of Holy Quran. After that, our distinguished speaker, Sir Mohammad Maqbool, fellow chartered accountant and fellow member of PIPFA, will give his presentation. And this session will be followed by question and answer session. And in the end, there will be a keynote from the convener of PIPFA Lahore Branch Committee. So let's start our session with the recitation of Holy Quran. Ali, I will request you for the recitation of Holy Quran.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعاديات ضبحا فالموريات قدحا فالمغيرات صبحا فأثرن به نقعا فوسطن به جمعا إن الإنسان لربه لكنود وإنه على ذلك لشهيد وإنه لحب الخير لشديد أفلا يعلم إذا بعثر ما في القبور وحصل ما في الصدور إن ربهم بهم يومئذ لخبير صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah. Thank you very much, Ali. The basic outcome of the today's session will be what we will come to know. The takeaway of this session will be what are the basic principles of ethics, कौन सी threats and safeguards हैं जो कि attach हैं ethics के साथ, और फिर जो non compliance with laws and regulations हैं वो उसका फिर क्या consequences हैं. तो इन सब को डिस्कस करने के लिए हमारे जो डिस्टिंग्विश स्पीकर हैं सर मोहम्मद मकबूल, उनका जैसे मैंने पहले अर्ज किया, ही इज़ अ फेलो चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट और over 40 years of experience in the accountancy profession and at very high levels. सर इसके साथ जो है वो काउंसिल मेंबर रह चुके हैं और हैं भी आई कैप के, जो इनका स्पैन है वो 40 इयर्स मैंने बताया. 1993 से 97 में भी सर काउंसिल मेंबर रहे, फिर 2013 से 2017 में भी काउंसिल मेंबर रहे, और फिर 2022 और 2026 की जो काउंसिल इस वक्त है उसके भी सर मेंबर हैं. तो सर आज हमें एथिक्स के बारे में बताएंगे कि एथिक्स बहुत ज़रूरी है हर प्रोफेशन में, चाहे वो लॉयर हो, चाहे वो डॉक्टर हो, चाहे वो आर्किटेक्ट हो. तो इसी तरह हम जो अकाउंटेंट है हमारे लिए भी एथिक्स का जानना और फिर अपने कंडक्ट को उस तरह रखना एज पर एथिक्स वो बहुत ज़रूरी है. तो सर आपका बहुत शुक्रिया फॉर योर प्रीशियस टाइम. सो इट्स ओवर टू यू फॉर योर प्रेजेंटेशन सर. सर थैंक यू वेरी मच.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Rasa. I think I will be able to share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. Screen is visible to us. Your presentation is also visible, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for having me here today. PIPFA is always very close to my heart. Actually, when PIPFA was formed, I was founding member of PIPFA in 94. So therefore, all the time when I can do something for PIPFA, I always very glad to do that. I was asked to conduct this session on code of ethics for professional content. For you, I will use the word professional content. I tried to change the slides, my slides which are on ethics to professional content, but one or two places you may still be able to see the word charter content. So as you said, the ethics are very important for each profession, but for the finance professionals, they are extremely important. So we are going to look at what this code says and what are the requirement, what are the challenges, threats, safeguards, particularly NOCLAR, non-compliance with the law and regulation. We will be looking at that. Okay. So this code of ethics is basically applicable to 120 plus countries. ICAP and PIPFA, also ICMAP from Pakistan, a member of IFAC, and under the SMO, they have the obligation to ask their member to follow the ethics, and if they breach any provision of ethics, not to comply with the ethics, there has to be mechanism to penalize them or take some action. So these actions are basically based on international ethics standard board for contents code issued by them, and sometimes the ethics do refer to internal standard on auditing, particularly reference to auditor report and things like those. The code 2019 has been effective from the June 2019 in Pakistan. Earlier, the ICAP code was there 2015, which was followed by the PIPFA as well. Now PIPFA has become a full member body of the IFAC, so they have to have their own code, and they are allowed to change the code, putting their PIPFA member wherever like you will see charter content. So you can say public and financial content. You can amend that and adopt that. So that this is one thing. Okay, so it's a code of ethics based on the code which are issued by the International Ethics Standard Board. And actually, structure of the code is there are four parts. The part one is green. You can see it's comply with the code, fundamental principle, and conceptual framework. So all professional accountants are required to follow this. And section 100 to 199 of this code cover this area. And then there's a part two, is the professional accountant in business. And they are, you see the mode of conducting this, I will not be taking any question. Please note down your question because someone raised the hand. So I will not be giving any consideration to these raising hand during my presentation. After that, we will be taking the question. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Someone
Yes, sir.
raised the hand.
Yes,
Someone
sir.
raised the hand. That's why I'm saying this is going to be our style of conducting this session. No question in between, unless I say if there is any question. Okay. Otherwise, you people should hold your question till the end. The part two deal with the professional content and business, mean people work in industry and banks and other organizations. So most of PIPFA members are basically working in businesses, and they are not in practice. The third part is the professional content in practice. Currently, PIPFA members are not PIPFA doesn't offer any certificate of practice at this stage. So 300 to 399 is the code covers that area. And the fourth area is the international independence standard. This is very much part and parcel of these codes. There are four parts. One, the fundamental principle and conceptual framework. Second is the applicable to professional content in business. Then the professional content in practice. And the fourth is the international independence standards. Okay. Now you will see in two colors, like the color which is the blue, they set out the requirement of the code. And then the green part is explain the context and also give a further explanation. Like the rule is professional content shall comply with the code, and there might be circumstances where law and regulation preclude an accountant from complying with certain part of the code. Maybe the law, yeah, like I say in ICAP, there are certain laws in their ordinance where certain items or the codes are not applicable because they in Pakistan they are not permitted. So in such circumstances, those laws and regulation would prevail, and the accountant shall comply with the rest of all the part of the code. Only they will omit the compliance with that part which has a conflict with the law and regulation, and but the rest of the areas of the code will be applicable. The principle of professional behavior, I will talk about later on. Principle professional behavior require a professional accountant to comply with the relevant law and regulation. It's one of the principle professional behavior, so which demand the accountant to comply with the relevant law and regulation. But in some jurisdiction might have a provision that differ from that or may go beyond that which is set out in the codes. In those jurisdictions, the professional accountant need to be aware of those differences, and they need to comply with the more stringent provision unless those provisions are prohibited by law or regulation. This is the main point. Just a given you example how you see the blue para and how you see the green para. So these are basically the principle. 5 principles are there: integrity, objectivity, competence, confidentiality, and professional behavior. In earlier page, I was talking about professional behavior. Okay, so now there are certain threats to the compliance of these fundamental principles. And there are 5 types of threats, just like self-interest, self-review, advocacy, familiarity, intimidation. So these are the threats. So once any of that threat is there, we need to apply the safeguards. And as a result of applying these safeguards, threats can be eliminated or can be reduced to the acceptable level. So either it need to be eliminated or reduced to acceptable level on which the report or some opinion can be given, that level acceptable for that purpose. But if the safeguard does not help in reducing the threat to reasonable, acceptable level, then the professional accountant is required to decline the acceptance of the assignment or may resign from the assignment. This is the basic thing. Now, if there is any question, we can talk about. There are 5 principles, and there are 5 threats, and there are many kind of safeguard. We'll talk about in detail later on. And by applying those safeguards, we aim to eliminate the threat or we reduce the threat to acceptable level. If we fail to do that by applying those safeguards, then it's better not to take up the assignment or resign. If you are already taken up, then resign in the way. Any question? If no, then I'll move forward. Okay. They are the overarching requirement of code of ethics. Start with the integrity, we have already seen there, and objectivity, confidentiality, professional behavior, and the professional competence and due care. And requirement of independence is very much there. The 5 fundamental principles of ethics along with the independence related requirement. Let's look at the first fundamental principle, which is the integrity. The professional accountants should be a straightforward and honest person in his professional business relationship. He not knowingly should associate himself or herself to reports, return, communication, or information where that person, that professional accountant believe that the information is materially false, misleading, and it is prepared recklessly without any care and omit or obscure certain required information, which means they are incomplete. So if that omission obscurity would be misleading, so he has to make sure that not knowingly he himself associated with any work, any report, any data which is materially false, has been developed recklessly without taking proper care and check and balances, and or that is the obscure data, contain the obscure data or omit certain information out of that data, resulting into be misleading. So he should not associate. When he becomes aware, maybe later on, of having been associated with the information described above, materially false, recklessly prepared with omission, then he must take the step to disassociate himself from the information. Sometimes has to inform the people who are the governors of the entity, uh, or maybe the within the firm, the senior people, and maybe we'll talk about the outside authority as well sometime. So he should take a necessary step which make him disassociated from the that kind of information. And second, objectivity. Professional content is required to exercise professional and business judgment without being compromised by biasness, conflict of interest, or he should not be subject to undue influence. I shouldn't be relying too much undue reliance on some individual, organization, system, other factor. He should be testing them. He must be taking some evidence of reliability to continue his work or perform his work. Okay, so he is not judgment is not compromised due to biasness, conflict of interest, and undue influence or over reliance on something. Maybe that is a person, that's some organization, maybe system, technology. Okay, the professional content shall not undertake a professional activity if he feels that kind of circumstantial relationship will unduly influence his professional judgment. So he should not undertake that kind of professional assignment or activity, which has a risk of unduly influencing his professional judgment. Now, this very important area is the competence and due care. Every professional accountant is expected to be having the professional competency and due care. So how that would happen? He need to attain or maintain professional knowledge and skill. Like the PIPFA, to become a PIPFA member, you have to pass number of exams. You have to then you are required to update that knowledge on a regular basis, so you can perform competently the professional activity, keeping in view the current technical and professional standards and the relevant law and regulation. You cannot be considered to have a competence and due care unless you are able to demonstrate that. Act diligently in accordance with applicable technical and professional standards and relevant law and regulation. And this is the one thing. Second is continue professional development, facilitate professional content to keep him technically, professionally, technology related matter, keeping himself updated in that. Okay. Professional content shall ensure that those working in professional capacity under him, under his authority, they also have proper training and supervision to perform their role competently and with due care. And where appropriate, the professional accountant shall make the client aware of any limitation which is inherent in the service or activity provided. Sometimes in the report we put the limitation. If there's some limitation on the basis of which we relied and giving our opinion, we should spell out those limitations. Right? Sometimes, let's say we say the report should not be shared with any independent party without seeking our written permission. Right? This kind of a restriction could be there. As you can say, this report is not other than just meeting the company's obligation, the Company Act to prepare account and file with the company, have it audited. Main objective is this and nothing else. So because the auditing standard do cover already all that, so therefore in audit report, we don't say, but in some country, we do say in the audit report that this audit report is prepared for the body which has been directly shown as the addressee, and with the other no the third party, the auditor has any obligation or would be responsible. So this kind of limitation has to be spelled out wherever necessary. Very important principle is the confidentiality. Whatever information come to the knowledge of the professional content due to his professional business relationship, he need to keep them confidential, right? The professional content shall be alert to the possibility of inadvertent disclosure. Maybe in a social environment, maybe to close business associate or immediate or close family member. You see, this is very important. When you come home, sit with your family, you've been working for a textile unit and you've seen something there, and you're not supposed to discuss the name of the client. You may, to alert your family, you may say, okay, don't wear very colorful dresses because the color they use are harmful for the body, human body, and so. But you don't say I work for that unit. I saw they were doing this, and that kind of color could create some kind of, you can say, the reaction. While you are not expert of that, but your feeling was that. So I heard something that. So whatever financial, non-financial information comes to you, not unless I'll talk about unless. So normally I see people, friends sitting together, they refer a client name, then discuss certain things, which is not required under this rule. And within the firm, whoever is working, all are responsible to maintain the confidentiality. Okay, it's not the only the team which worked on that. The other people in the office who are handling the client files, other things, maintain confidentiality of the information. This also as much applicable to the people working in industry as it's applicable to people working in practice. Maintain confidentiality of the information disclosed by the prospective client or employing organization, your employer organization. You have to respect the confidentiality. Okay. So no disclosure of confidential information is required as a result of professional business relationship outside the firm or employing organization. Of course, within firm there would be discussion of that thing, but everyone working in the firm as a team member, as an organization employee, they all have to keep this and should not disclose this information without proper and specific authority of the client. Unless, there I said, unless there's a legal and professional duty of the accountant to or his right to disclose. We'll talk about when he has the duty to disclose, when he has the right to disclose. We'll talk about that. Not use confidential information for his personal advantage or for the advantage of some third party. Like sometimes you use that information and use your activity that way. Like let's say insider dealing, insider information. You come to know very bumper profit is going to be there, disclosed, reflected in financial statement this year, and you just make a transaction through some of your family member, acquire the share of that company. or you tell someone, a third party, you do it because you feel the share are going to go up, and you yourself cannot do it because you have the responsibility not to act on the basis of that information. Similarly, sometime our relationship end with the client or with the organization where we are employed, we are required to continue to respect the confidentiality of the information which came to our knowledge as a result of our professional business relationship. Even after the relationship has ended, your job is finished, your client has gone, and no more with the firm, still you are required. Take reasonable step to ensure that personnel under the member's control, staff, and the individual from whom advice and assistance are obtained. Sometimes you take advice from some lawyer or someone and disclose the information. And they are also be told that this information is confidential and should respect. Sometimes we enter a non-disclosure agreement before we get advice from third party, so that under that agreement or arrangement, that person come to know that this information is very confidential and is not expected to disclose that information. Okay, now following other circumstances where a member or might be required to disclose the confidential information, or when such disclosure might be appropriate. One is the disclosure is required by law. Some disclosure required by law. You have to give that disclosure. The examples are production of certain document, or provision of some evidence in the course of the legal proceeding. There's a court case, and for that court case, you have been required to go as a witness and also share with the courts your information or your document. You can do that. Disclose the appropriate public authority of infringement of the law that comes to your life. The client or your organization is doing something which are illegal. That's the infringement of the law. Then this is also your duty to disclose to relevant public authority that non-compliance or that with the law and regulation. Disclosure is permitted by law and authorized by the client or the employing organization. So some disclosure is permitted by law, but still you have to say your client has authorized you. It's not that no law stops you from disclosing someone, but you disclose it, your client doesn't know that, or your employer doesn't know that. You have to also seek the authorization of the clients or your employing organization. There is a professional duty or right to disclose. Here, either you have the professional duty to disclose or you have the right to disclose. Even not permitted by law. What are those cases? To comply with the quality review of a professional body, like in case of audit, we are required to provide the file and documentation to Audit Oversight Board and also to the Institute of Chartered Accountants in Pakistan Quality Control Department. We have to provide that. Okay, so you can do that. Here is the problem in Pakistan. In Pakistan, CA Ordinance Schedule 2, Schedule 1, Part 2 of Clause 1, they say you cannot disclose any information without the authority of the client unless it's required by law or permitted by the client. So now a lot of people do not provide certain files to the quality assurance department because they say our client has not permitted us to do that. Okay. Respond to an inquiry or investigation. There's an inquiry and investigation against your firm or against you, which is started by the professional regulatory body. Regulatory body means SCCP, maybe Audit Oversight Board. Professional body means Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan, Institute of Cost Management of Pakistan, maybe PIPFA as well, because no, PIPFA also has a disciplinary committee there. So in that, to protect your position, you may disclose the information which can save your, prove that you are not at fault. You have not done something carelessly. So you can show that information. Your client doesn't permit you, but still you can do it. To protect the professional interest of a member in legal proceedings, there's a case against you in a court of law, and you can put up that information which is in your possession and can prove that you are not at fault. To comply with technical and professional standards, including ethical requirement. Ethics require you something to disclose, and you are doing that. Okay, so this is perfectly okay. Even you don't, law doesn't require, even the client has not permitted. A professional content shall continue to comply with the principle of confidence even after the end of its relationship. I already told you, if you have resigned from an organization or you have completed the assignment, a client is no more there, you still will be bound by the requirement of confidentiality. Now question arises, you are working somewhere as a team member or as an employee, and you gained a lot of experience there. You are entitled to use that experience you gained during that in your rest of the life, but you are not allowed to use or disclose any confidential information. You can't say, oh, I was preparing that information where they shared with me on the basis I learned, so they're very authentic information. You can say, we need this information, we have to focus on that because your experience tells you. You can do that, but you cannot name some information and the source of information to say what I'm thinking is supported by something. You are not allowed to that. This is where you will be disclosing the confidential information. No harm in using your experience in performing your future activity on the basis of the experience you gain, the information you learned, the techniques you learned. There's no problem in that, but should not make a disclosure of confidential information which you acquired as a result of your professional business relationship. Professional behavior is another principle. Professional conduct shall comply with the professional behavior, which requires him or her to comply with the relevant law and regulation. Right? He is required to behave in a manner which is consistent with the profession, the responsibility to act in the public interest in all professional activity and business enterprise. This is without saying we professional content have to act in the public interest, right? Today I was in the afternoon, I was addressing one webinar, and I told them, the audience, that all the services which a chartered accountant practice or a professional accounting practice provide to the public or to other businesses, I said, to me, the more service which is in the public interest is the audit service. Consulting not, tax not, but the audit basically give a credibility to financial statement, help the organization and also public to invest, and for the organization to seek finance, and with the confidence in this way helps in promoting the business in the country. So therefore, that's why the auditors are normally fined, because whenever there's any deficiency in the work is found by the Audit Oversight Board, ICAP, or regulatory body, or SSCP, they are penalized because they failed to perform their role in the public interest. Avoid any conduct that the member knows or should know might discredit the profession. Something you think, if you come to know that I did that, and people come to know you are a PIPFA member, or you're chartered accountant, you are cost management accountant, it can bring a discredit and disrepute to the profession, and you should, that's professional behavior basically. A professional accountant shall not knowingly engage in any business occupation activity that impair or might impair the integrity, objectivity, or good reputation of his profession. Right? Because people will say he's a chartered accountant. right? Because people come to know what the profession that. Like as a minister, to do something, and people know you are an engineer, you are a doctor, you are an accountant. So the profession gets bad reflection. That will say the person has not acted with the good professional and did not follow the principle of professional behavior, right? And otherwise, that's it. Very much basic focus of his thinking should be my behavior should be counted professional. Now, again, I give you the time. We have discussed the 5 principles. And if you have any question on those 5 principles, because I'm going to take up if there's any risk, a threat to the compliance to those fundamental principles. So what are the kind of threats? Then I'll go to threats, then I'll go to safeguard later on. Okay, we continue. And there are 5 kind of threats: self-interest, self-review, advocacy, familiarity, intimidation. These are 5 threats. Let's see what are those threats are. Self-interest is that the financial other interest of the professional content will inevitably influence his judgment of behavior. That's the self-interest. Okay, where he gains something out of that. Okay, that's called self-interest. So we're not talking about the fee. We are talking about maybe under the circumstances charging very excessive fees to the client because he knows that client is going to have his service because he knows the knowledge business well. So there comes the self-interest basically. Self-review is where he has done something already, and out of that work, something information is being produced, and he is giving his opinion or is given the task to do some further activity on the basis of the information which was generated from his earlier work. So of course he will be compromised if the earlier system or the technology or software he has provided, which are generating incorrect information. He will not highlight that the information being produced by the system which he already given is due to that. So he may be given another staff member there who is doing something for them, and now he is required to report on the work of that staff, whatever produced by maybe receivable officer, maybe payable officer, maybe the person preparing the financial statement so that they should be audited. Now that staff member who is an ex-staff member or is a firm's employee of other department, then he will definitely give a cover up. That's called self-review threat. Advocacy is where you as a professional content are required to promote a client or employing organization position. Maybe there is somewhere you have to give a report which will be entertained by the court or considered by the court, and they have to make a decision. Or maybe on the basis of your report, some pricing of a share has to be determined. So you will, of course, try to promote the client or your employing organization position, and for that, you are bound to compromise. Familiarity threat is you have a long and close relationship with your client or employing organization. So you would like to be sympathetic, are too open to accept the work they have produced or put in front of you. That's called familiarity threat. And intimidation threat is where you are deterred from acting objectively because there is actual perceived pressure on you, right? And we'll talk about maybe you think if you don't do that, so you will be losing another assignment. Next year, you will not be appointed, right? Or they have told you that they are not going to appoint you unless you give this earning per share or you give this level of working capital, show this kind of position. So then threat is you are going to lose a lot of fees in future year. So there comes the threat. Okay, these are 5 kind of threats. When you see the threats, the framework is you need to identify the threat, and you have to evaluate those threats, and you have to address those threats. You have to do that. So you have to, in doing that, you have to exercise professional judgment, and you should remain alert to new information and changes in the facts and circumstances over the period. And you need to use the reasonable and informed third party test, right? Keeping these 3 outer boundary requirements, you have to identify the threat, you have to evaluate the threat, and then you have to address the threat. So we'll be looking at a little in detail. Basically, way to address is eliminate the circumstances. This is the purpose, creating the threat. Okay, applying the safeguard, or if a safeguard effectively applied, threat is reduced to acceptable level, then you will perform your activity. Otherwise, you will decline, and the specific professional service or activity if you are unable to reduce the threat to a acceptable level. Okay, basically it's a just step back and forming overall conclusion. There's a threat, how to deal with that, what is the result of those dealing, and what is the evaluation at the end. Here, step 1 is identifying the threat. If there's no threat, you can proceed to step 2. And you need to evaluate the threat. And threats are not significant or insignificant threats. You can move to the step 3. Right? So you don't have to move. But if you say the threat was significant, then you have to undertake the step 3. Otherwise, you don't. If step 1, no threat, you don't have to go to step 2. If you see there are threats, you have to move to step 2. And you need to evaluate, are they significant or insignificant? Are they all insignificant? You don't have to worry for anything more. But if you see a lot of threats are significant, then you have to identify the safeguard. The safeguard could be existing already you have put in place. You see, like internal control, sometimes people say, and sometimes we say our quality within the firm, our quality control system of the firm does existing. But you may have to also institute the new one. The combination of existing and new, if you feel the safeguard are working well or not. If you see the threat is not reached to acceptable level after treating them, applying the safeguard, then you should stop. You should not perform the activity. You should disassociate yourself. But if you think as a result of applying these new and existing safeguard, and result is you come to conclusion that the threat is come to an acceptable level, then you should continue with performing the assignment. Basically, 3 things that we said previous is identify, evaluate, and address. Applying the safeguard. Identify threat to compliance with the rule. If no threat, then proceed. Already we said. Then we need to evaluate the threat second. If we say there's no significant thing, then it's okay. If you see there is a significance, and then should move to the step 3, and we should identify if there's significant threat there. We move to step 3. We've already seen on the last page. Identify the safeguard, which could be the existing safeguard already established, or maybe new safeguard you brought in, and then you have to evaluate the threats. In some cases, an identified threats may be so significant, no safeguard will eliminate it and reduce it to an acceptable level. There could be some which you can, like you see, the chief executive or board members are lacking the integrity. And now you cannot apply any safeguard for that. If they are lacking the integrity, they are proven to be people without integrity, it's better not to undertake that kind of assignment. Okay, maybe where when I say safeguard is one of your staff member is a very close relative of the client staff member, and you need to check the work of that staff member, the relative of your staff member in that organization. So what you can do is you can drop that your team member who's a relative from the team, send him office, and you have addressed the threat. Okay, so we have to see some. There are circumstances when there's no solution, no safeguard could work. In that case, better to decline. So basically, it's not that immediately we should say, oh, they are threats. Okay, we should not do that. No, no. If they are threats, just weigh them. Is that significant? Say safeguard will work or not, and then at the end you decide this declining or discontinuation or resignation. It should not come to your mind in the beginning. Okay. Now, what's the self-interest? A financial interest in a client or jointly holding a financial interest with a client. You have a business common with a client, some other business. Undue dependence on total fees from a client. Too much fees coming from the client. If you lose that client, it could affect you financially very seriously. Having a close business relationship with the client and concern about the possibility of losing a client, right? It's not your fees is too much. You feel that you will lose this client. This is the only client in textile industry. And if you lose this client, then you will not be able to seek more work in the textile industry. That's why you want to keep this client. And if you lost, then it could have a lot of serious effect on you. That's a self-interest. Potential employment with the client. Okay? You seek a potential employment as you feel after 1 year. Sometimes we have a manager working as a job in charge of audit, and then they are in a negotiation with the client that in 6 months time, when someone from the staff will resign or retired, then this person will be offered a job. This is self-interest. Maybe partners offered a job, maybe a manager offered a job, a very senior, maybe it's a normal team member going to get a job, doesn't affect that. The person who is in a position to make decision and judgment, if there's a chance of he getting the job with the client, then his work would lack the quality and threat is there. Contingent fee related to an engagement. Contingent fees means where the fee size is dependent on the outcome of the work you perform. Okay, that's also self-interest. It's allowed in certain cases, not allowed in certain cases. But let me tell you, in Pakistan, contingent fees is not allowed for audit and assurance thing. But for other activity you may have, like you prepare a feasibility study and you only charge them 200,000 only, while the work was very of a large size. So you say, if you get the project approval, then you will pay me the 5% of the size of the project or 2% of that. So this does work, but the audit and assurance where you give opinion, in that case the contingent fees is not permissible. A loan to or from a client and or any of his director or officer, that is also you could say self-interest. But if your client is bank and give you the loan under the ordinary terms and condition by following the normal procedure, then we don't call it self-interest. Okay. Similarly, a client is giving the scholarship to some of your staff member for further study who are on the team as a threat, self-threat. But if you see, they give some, we talk about hospitality and other gift later on, under the familiarity, other thing. But if the client nature of business is such and you get Like client is producing cement and you buy the cement from the client at the price, and the discount offer is just nominal, like any bulk order, any person knowing to the client can get it, then it's not. Otherwise, it is. Self-review, reporting on the operation of financial system after being involved in their design and implementation. You have designed that. Now client want a comfort report, and they have also given this assignment to you. This is self. Having prepared the original data, use to generate the record that are subject of matter of the engagement. And now the system is generating some data, and system was given by you, and now you are conducting the audit of that. This is self-test. A member of the, even the preparation of financial statement for the client and then doing the audit is also self-review. Okay, in audit case, it's not permissible that you prepare, give the accounting service to the client as well and do the audit as well. This is not, because your own work is performed in form of bookkeeping and accounting. How you can give audit report objectively on that? A member of the team being or having recently been a director or officer of the client, right? A member of the team being or having recently been employed by the client, and he is in a position who can exert the direct and significant influence over the subject matter on which you are performing your assignment. Not a small level of employee. Employee of a level which get a position to exert direct and the significant influence. Mr. Jawad Aftab has raised the hand. Give me a little time. I'll ask you the question. Performing a service for a client that directly affects the subject matter of the engagement. As I said, you yourself did the bookkeeping, and now you're doing the audit. An assurance engagement to provide a high level assurance that the financial statement of 3 or material misstatement, such as engagement in accordance with international standard auditing. There's a one is a negative assurance, is other does reasonable assurance, other is a high level assurance where you certify something. In audit report, we don't certify something, but if you certify something, and that's the sort of thing where if you have been associated with the subject matter on which you are giving the high assurance, then it's a self-review. Yes, any question? Why the hand was raised? I think by accident. Okay. After Jawad has raised the hand, can you please check which question? Why not you people put your question in the chat box as well? Okay. Can you listen me? Are you there? Just confirm me. Mr. Ali or Mr.
Yeah.
Zahid?
Sir, आपकी आवाज आ रही है? Are you audible?
Okay, thank you, thank you. Ibn Abbas Ashraf raising the hand. I said I will take the question at the end. Okay, thank you for being patient, and we'll take the question at the end. Immediate familiarity is immediate family member, a close family member who is a director, officer, or is an influential employee of the client, and then you have a familiarity because your close family member with the authorities working at the client level, and a member of the team having a close family member who as an employee of the client is in a position to exert direct and significant influence over the subject matter. Now we're talking about your team member. As I've given you the example that we can send that team member back. We cannot say client to fire the other relative and he should not be around, but you can do one thing. You can send from your team a person back to office and call some other person there. A former partner of the firm being a director, officer of the client, or an employee in a position of significant influence in that organization, and the long association of a senior member of the team with the client, and maybe the partner is for 5, 6, 7 years doing the same company audit, and there's some concept rotation of audit just to address this thing, that there should not be very long association, because when you have very long association, you start compromising, even the partner level or maybe manager level, senior manager level. Acceptance of gift or hospitality, unless the value is clearly insignificant from the client, is director, officer, or employee. So sometimes people say no gift and no hospitality, but the court say it could be of insignificant value, because insignificant value doesn't affect your attitude. Like if they just doing lunch in office and offer you at the same time a couple of sandwiches, that's okay. But it take you out to a lavish lunch, and then you come back and every day they do that, then of course this is undue hospitality. Intimidation, I told you, threat that may deter the member or professional content from acting objectively. Objective means on the basis of the information and evidence. That's we call objective. Example is the professional content is threatened to be dismissed from the job or will be replaced by another firm of accountant to perform that job in future. This is the intimidation threat. Client has threatened they will start a litigation against you because you have done that bad, resulting in loss to the organization, and you are now worried and you are going to accept their position. Okay. You are being pressurized to reduce the inappropriately the extent of work performed. It's the auditor who have decided the nature, extent, and timing of the audit. That three things has to be decided by the professional accountant. Okay. If someone push you to compromise on the nature of work and the depth of the work, then it is intimidation. Okay. Because why they want to reduce the work so that they can have a less time spent on their assignment, because they are going to pay you on the basis of overspent, and they would say they think in this way they can reduce the fee. Okay. That's also intimidation. Now safeguard. These are the threats we talked about. Okay. The self-review, familiarity, intimidation, this all were the threat. Okay. And now safeguard are three categories. Safeguard. One is which are developed by the profession, law, and regulation. Other by the client or the employing organization. They have some internal controls, things like those. And the safeguard, which the forum of professional content has put in place, the system put in place, which provide the safeguard against those threats. Let's look at all the three kinds. These are the safeguards created by profession, legislation, and regulation. The first one, like educational training experience requirement to become a PIPFA member, become a chartered accountant. So the person is becoming the professional, right? Understanding the ethics, understanding the principle, right? Continued professional development requirement, corporate governance regulation, professional standards, as we are talking about professional standards, professional regulatory monitoring and disciplinary procedure, as such as PIPFA also have a disciplinary, ICAP has a disciplinary procedure. So external review by legally empowered third party of the reports. And there's another thing, you are given the report, another party is going to review it before it becomes final. And you know, some other party is going to look at, you will be careful, okay? And therefore, this safeguard is built there. Or maybe the things are of client and like valuation being given, and you know other party, third party will be also involved to look at those figures. So then definitely there won't be any much inflation or cosmetic involved in those figures. Safeguard within client. When client management appoint a firm person other than the own management to ratify, approve certain appointment, certain level, certain confirm certain item, then there's a check and balance there, safeguards there. Client have a competent employees in place who make the managerial decisions. This is one of the safeguards. That revenue information coming for your review would be credible because the people who are generating that, reviewing that, they are competent within the organization. Policy and procedures emphasize the client commitment to fair financial policy reporting. A client like a very credible client, sometimes we say, let me name here, it's not never been a professional fund. Let's say packages. We know the person who are family, who are behind the packages, they have a strong commitment to fair dealing, fair business, fair financial reporting. So these policy and procedures, the place to achieve that, they are the safeguard there. Corporate governance structure, every listed company, every public sector company have to have an audit committee, right, which provides the check and balances. So that is also safeguard. This is within the client. Okay, these steps are taken to provide the safeguard. Now, the professional firm also has system and procedure which provide the safeguard, like firm leadership. They ensure the independence characteristics is followed. You are not accepting the client where the independence doesn't exist. As your team, which is sent to the client, they are independent of the client, right? So they can act in the public interest. Similarly, firm has instituted certain policies and procedures to implement and monitor quality control of all the audit and assurance engagement. They provide proper training, timely communication of the firm's policies and procedure. They tell the staff timely basis what the new policy, what the amendment policy, and give them the training. Whenever changes are made, they are also communicated to the partners and staff level. And discussion of ethical independence issue with the audit committee. If you are doing audit of some organization, you see there are certain ethical independence issue there, like your staff member had some relative in that organization, you can talk to the audit committee that his presence has not caused any issue because he was not involved in work which is produced by your employee who is his relative. So otherwise, if they come to know later, they would say, my goodness, relative of Mr. Sajjad was here, and as a part of the team, they could think negatively. So it's better if there's an ethical independence issue, then the audit committee should be taken in loop and the matter should be discussed with them. So things should be very clear. Well-designed and implemented clients acceptance and continuous process. You see, that's two things, accepting new client and continue with the old client. We have to carry out the assessment and see by doing that, we are not accepting the client, which we should not accept because the client is risky, assignment is risky. Even we are serving the client for many years, each year we have to review our continuity of arrangement with the client by filling up certain checklists, carrying out certain questionnaires, answering certain questions. So similarly, rotation of engagement. Some firm says within maximum 3 years, one person will be the engagement partner, and then they will change it. Sometime in code of corporate governance, there is a thing that every 3 years or 5 years, 3 years, in case of financial institution, the firm will be changed. And in other cases, every 5 years, the engagement partner should be changed. Okay, some other partner should be responsible for conducting the audit and assurance assignment. So resolution of this matter of independence. If the matter remain unresolved, the professional conduct should consult with other appropriate person within the firm. Right? In the firm, there should be some authority. If there are certain matter which are still going on, but you are not comfortable, you feel we are compromising here, so you people should be talking to that partner. And some firms, there are certain partners, independent partner, who keep on looking the arrangement, and wherever they feel there could be risk, they call the team, they call the concerned partner, they discuss with them, so they make sure the firm independence is not compromised, the team's independence is not compromised. Where the matter involves a conflict with or within an organization, you need to consult with those charged with the governance. They mean basically audit committee or board of directors. Okay, when when you say there is a certain conflict, then you should talk to them so that that conflict should be resolved. The client audit committee I'm talking about. If a significant conflict cannot be resolved, obtain the professional advice from the relevant professional body, ICAP, ICMAP, PIPFA, what I should do, maybe a legal advice from your lawyer as well, or from your lawyer. If after exhausting all relevant possibility, the ethical conflict remains unresolved, you've taken all the steps, then better to refuse to remain associated with the client or with the assignment because you cannot eliminate the conflict. So that is okay. Now I'm moving to no clause. No clause is a non-compliance with law and regulation. When you do audit, it's not for audit, okay? It is even for the people who are working in the industry, right? They are employed in their organization, own organization, and they see the organization is not complying, or they doubt the compliance is not there of certain law and regulation, then they should obtain the understanding of that non-compliance, which law and how it's not being compliant. And then he should address and evaluate the matter, how serious the matter is, okay? How serious the matter is. Determine whether further action and take care and go to compliance. But if we say that compliance is not according to his instruction or his desire, and no one is listening to him, he has to determine whether further action is needed and determine. If he says yes, further action is needed, then determine whether this was a matter to an appropriate authority. There's two disclosures. One you make within the organization. That could be whistleblowing. That could be to the talking to not chief executive. You know, chief executive is going to be responsible for that. Talking to chairman of audit committee. Okay, certain under the corporate governance, there is a requirement that the audit committee should ensure that there's a procedure in place under which someone can write his concern to the audit committee, right? So they can make them wake up call, right? But sometimes you think the non-compliance is so big that you may talk to the auditor of the company, okay? Auditor of the company, and let them handle that, okay? And sometimes you feel that it has to be reported to relevant authority, like any anti-money laundering law we have, and non-compliance with that, then you have to disclose to the authority, the serious crime agency, right? So then you have to report that. So it depends on the nature of the non-compliance. Okay. Okay, we have to look at the precluded law and regulation. Let me tell you what is mean by precluded law and regulation. There is a non-compliance, but you cannot report to someone outside because of the confidentiality requirement. Like in Pakistan, a chartered accountant will come to know that there is a non-compliance of law and regulation in the organization. He cannot report outside because our CA ordinances require that he cannot cannot disclose the confidential information without the consent of the client, unless the law requires it. Law requires, like anti-money launder require everyone to disclose, right? But maybe non-compliance with the license, their license is not valid, license is expired. In that case, you are not required to report. But anti-money laundering, terrorism financing, under that act, you are required to report. So you have to look for the credible evidence of substantial harm. Before you disclose, you have to have a credible evidence of substantial harm. They should look for which authority exists to whom you may be required to report. Okay. And similarly, you say if the action is could have physically harmed the staff, employees, customer, maybe the chance of food poisoning, chance of out of the product consumption, this is physical harm. And your duty comes because you have to take a serious note of that. And legal protection for whistleblowing. Certain countries have a legal protection whistleblowing. If I blow the whistle in the organization, I will never lose the job because the state will provide me the guarantee for staying here. But in Pakistan, there's no such a legal protection. In US, yes. UK, Europe, yes. If no one can remove you on the basis of whistleblowing. Okay. And if you are removed, then state is with you. They were responsible to take care of your financial stress and whatever. So this is the thing there. Okay, there's a public interest entity. We have a key partner, okay? And there's a cooling off period. Like engagement partner who signed the report, there has to be 5-year cooling off period. Once he's no longer an engagement partner, partner is changed, then 5 years, he cannot become again the engagement partner. Engagement quality control reviewer. This is the person, once audit work is completed, as per ISQC 1, International Standard Quality Control 1, this is changing now, it's coming ISQM 1 and 2 are coming now from 15 December 2022. There will be no more International Standard Quality Control 1. There will be Quality Management System 1 and 2 to deal with the engagement quality control review. Once your job is complete, before you sign the report, there's a need that another person who's independent person, maybe within the organization, within the audit firm, who has no concern or relationship with that client or with that audit work, he go through the file, he look at everything, and he said, okay, these are the deficiencies. Okay, so you look at that, if required, you remove them, and then you sign the report. That's called quality control reviewer, engagement quality control reviewer. This is engagement to engagement. This person is not looking after the whole firm, he's looking after sometime assignment A review is done by him, sometime assignment C review is done by him. But once he is out, then 3 years cooling off period. And other key audit partner, another partner who was a part of the audit team, is not engagement partner, he's not engagement quality control review, 2 year cooling off period. Then they should come involved with the same assignment. Before that, they cannot be engaged in any form in the assignment, like continued provision on consulting with the engagement team, a client regarding technical, industry-specific issues, transaction event. These people are out. They cannot perform this work. But new restriction which under this code has come is acting as he cannot act as a client relationship partner even, right? He said some people other doing this, but I will say hello, hi to client, keep him satisfied. If he has any concern, I will ask him, I'll pass on to the team, right? This is not allowed anymore, okay? Undertaking another role or activity, including providing non-accounting service, he cannot provide other service to that client because he is on the cooling off period. He has to wait till that cooling off period is over. That would result in individual having significant frequent interaction with the senior management or those charged with the governance. Okay, those charged with the governance mean director or audit committee are directly influencing the outcome of the audit. Okay, there's a new changes which made under this. Okay, there are terms like institute charter content, put the word charter content and word practice there. And PIPFA could put their professional content or the public and financial content there. They can put there in there if they adapt this standard by making changes. They should adapt. They should make changes. When I was the president of PIPFA and I was on their board of governors, we did look at that and strongly advise them that they should not just follow the code of ethics of Institute Charter Content Pakistan. Rather, they should adapt that by making necessary appropriate changes there. Level of fees, undercutting is not allowed. You know what is undercutting mean? Undercutting means low balling. We also call it low balling. If the new charter, new content charge the fees less than the fee charged by predecessor professional content, that's called undercutting. Unless there's a change in the nature of work and then you can have a lower fees. Otherwise, if you charge lower fees, it's against the code and against the Institute Charter Content Pakistan, the ordinance, Ordinance 1961. Okay. And the requirement to rotate the key partner, as we looked at already, the key partners should be engagement partner, other key partner, engagement quality control review. There should be rotation. Once they are changed, then there's a cooling off period. Marketing promotional activity. Ethic code allows certain marketing promotional activity, but in our CA ordinance in Pakistan, marketing promotional activity is not required. Unsolicited promotion of business is not required. In other countries, you can see big ad, Deloitte ad, EY ad, PwC ad, while you are standing at a metro station or underground station, as you are driving the car, you see big billboard holding on which the certain professional firm, video, they're advertising their services, right? Internationally, service with the certain condition are allowed, like you don't claim some expertise which you don't exist, you don't belittle other people's services. Okay, this kind of restriction are there. But here we in Pakistan have a lot of restriction on promoting and marketing the accounting professional services. You cannot charge the contingent fees, as I said, in case of the audit and assurance work. Other assignment where you are not giving the opinion, like tax, you are fighting, as you are defending the client in a tax proceeding, you have not given any opinion. So in that case, people do charge contingent fees. Okay. Similarly, in consulting, they do charge, but in audit and assurance, where they have to give opinion, accounts given true and fair view, or nothing has come to their attention which shows that the account does not give true and fair view, that kind of work you cannot charge contingent fee. This, I thank you for being patient, and now we can take up the question, because I feel we have reached 65 to 70 minutes, 60 minutes, 5-minute presentation, I think.
Dear participants, kindly raise your hand if you have any questions. Thank you.
अच्छा, क्वेश्चन उर्दू में भी किया जा सकता है भाई, ये मैं आपको बता दूं कि be free to ask me in English या उर्दू में आप पूछ सकते हैं, कोई मसला नहीं है.
ओके सर, जवाब आफ्ता तो मैं आपको माइक अनम्यूट कर रहा हूं.
अगर मेरे बस में हो ना, तो पाकिस्तान में सीए भी उर्दू में अलाउ हो जाए, मेरे बस में हो तो. ये
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर।
वक्त
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि पिफा के बहुत सारे मेंबर्स जो हैं वो पब्लिक सेक्टर में काम कर रहे हैं, एजीपीआर के अंदर हैं और बहुत सारी पब्लिक सेक्टर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में भी काम कर रहे हैं। तो उनके ऊपर ये कैसे जो है ना रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन वो होते हैं, क्योंकि पब्लिक सेक्टर की बहुत सारी इंफॉर्मेशन जो है वो पब्लिक होती है, वो कॉन्फिडेंशियलिटी उसमें जो है ना चूंकि वो पब्लिक इंफॉर्मेशन के अंदर आती है। दूसरा ये कि बहुत सारे ऑडिटर्स, डीडीओज जो पिफा में काम कर रहे हैं पब्लिक सेक्टर के अंदर, वो बहुत सारी जगह पे कॉन्ट्रेक्चुअल भी होते हैं और उनकी जॉब्स जो हैं वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के ऊपर होती हैं। तो उनके लिए जो है ना वो ये किस तरह से मतलब एप्लीकेबल है, और उनके ऊपर जो है ना एक दबाव भी होता है, अनड्यू इन्फ्लुएंस जो है ना।
दे आर बाउंड बाय द कॉन्फिडेंशियलिटी इवन दे आर देयर। वो जो आपने कहा ना पब्लिक इंफॉर्मेशन होती है, वो हर बंदे का रोल नहीं है इंफॉर्मेशन को पब्लिक करना। वो इस डिपार्टमेंट के ऊपर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि उन्होंने अपनी इंफॉर्मेशन जो है वो पब्लिक करनी है। एक प्रोसीजर उन्होंने तय किया होता है, उसके मुताबिक या जो इंफॉर्मेशन आस्क करे। जैसे तोशा खाना की इंफॉर्मेशन थी, अगर तोशा खाना सरकारी चीज है तो हर बंदा वहां नहीं बचा सकता कि इमरान खान साहब ने इतने हार बेच दिए हैं, अखबारों को इंटरव्यू देता फिर वो नहीं कर सकता। वो इंफॉर्मेशन कमीशन के पास गया, उसने कहा जी कोई इंफॉर्मेशन बताएं खान साहब ने कितने गिफ्ट जो हैं वो खा पी लिए हैं या बेच दिए हैं। तो वो फिर कोर्ट में मैटर किया, कोर्ट ने डिसाइड किया वो ऐसा नहीं है। हर बंदा नहीं है अपनी मर्जी से जी मैं पब्लिक जॉब कर रहा हूँ और हर इन्फॉर्मेशन पब्लिक होती है, मैं जिस मर्जी थड़े पे बैठ के या बसों में बैठ के या जहाजों में बैठ के उसको डिस्कस करूं, दैट्स नॉट अलाउड। वो तो अनप्रोफेशनल बिहेवियर होगा उसका। ये ठीक है जी। एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? जवाद आफ्ताब।
अच्छा सर, ये प्रेजेंटेशन जो है इसके हवाले से मुझे पूछना था कि मतलब ये रिकॉर्डिंग या ये जो है ना ये पिफा उसको वो करेगी, और सीपीडीआर जो है ना क्लेम करने का क्या प्रोसीजर होगा। और सर इसमें एक और चीज भी ये पूछनी थी कि पब्लिक सेक्टर के ऊपर जो है वो कोड ऑफ कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस फॉर पब्लिक सेक्टर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस जो है ना वो भी एप्लीकेबल है।
2013 का रूल्स है।
जी सर, तो उसके ऊपर पिफा ने कोई ऐसी वर्कशॉप या सेमिनार वगैरह जो है वो नहीं करवाया, तो उसके हवाले से भी सर कुछ आपसे थी।
वो पिफा वाले सुन रहे हैं, जवाब दें इस पे। एक तो क्या लोगों को रिकॉर्डिंग मिलेगी, अपनी वेबसाइट पे आप लगा देंगे, और दूसरा जहां तक इसकी स्लाइड्स का ताल्लुक है वो जरूर मैं पीडीएफ फॉर्म में ये भेज दूंगा इनको, इन्होंने किसी को देनी है या इनकी अपनी पॉलिसी चलेगी।
ओके सर, इसमें यह है कि आप अपना जो जिस ईमेल से आपको मीटिंग आईडी रिसीव हुआ है उसी पे रिप्लाई कर दें, स्लाइड्स और रिकॉर्डिंग का लिंक आपको उस पे मैं शेयर कर दूं।
मुझे कोई ईमेल लिंक नहीं आया, मुझे वो आया है व्हाट्सएप था, उससे मैंने
जी सर, वो पार्टिसिपेंट्स के लिए वैसे लिंक हमने एक जनरेट किया था ईमेल में।
तो अगर मुझे आया होगा आपका तो मैं आपको उसको भेज सकता हूँ आपको।
सर मैं आपसे शेयर कर लूंगा।
हाँ, आगे आप भेजिएगा लोगों को ना। ठीक है।
ओके सर, इब्ने अब्बास साहब, डू यू हियर मी?
जी जी प्लीज। अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर।
जी वक्त
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन इंटीमिडेशन, जी सर मेरा जो क्वेश्चन है इंटीमिडेशन थ्रेट के बारे में है। मुझे थोड़ी सी कंफ्यूजन आ रही है इंटीमिडेशन थ्रेट के अंदर और जो हमारा क्रिमिनल लॉ है उसके अंदर। मतलब बेसिकली जो इंटीमिडेशन थ्रेट है, दिस इज अ थ्रेट दैट द क्लाइंट इज फोर्सिंग यू और थ्रेटिंग यू टू गेट हिज प्रेफरेंशियल ऑडिट रिपोर्ट या ऑडिट ओपिनियन यू में से। तो अगर वो उस ऑडिट ओपिनियन के लिए कोई आपको फिजिकल इंजरी या कोई मटेरियल मॉनेटरी लॉस, मतलब इस तरह का कहता है मैं आपकी गाड़ी को लॉस करूंगा या कुछ करूंगा, तो वो ऑब्वियसली क्रिमिनल होगा। लेकिन वो क्रिमिनल एक्ट वो कर रहा है अपनी प्रोफेशनल मतलब व्यू में से कि अपनी ओपिनियन लेने के लिए, तो वो जो है वो इस ब्रीच में आएगा, मतलब इस थ्रेट में आएगा, या हम उसको डील करेंगे जो हमारा क्रिमिनल एक्ट है उसके मुताबिक?
क्रिमिनल एक्ट कहता है हो जाने दो पहले फिर आना मेरे पास। वो कहते हो जाने दो, गाड़ी तुम्हारी तबाह कर देगा तो फिर मेरे पास अख्तर मनोल्ला साहब कहते हैं फिर आना मेरे पास, तुम्हें जब नुकसान पहुंचा देना फिर आना, उससे पहले मैं क्या करेंगे। वो तो हम थ्रेट की बात कर रहे हैं, इसमें थ्रेट की बात कर रहे हैं। अगर वो आपको क्रिमिनल हार्म करता है फिजिकली तो वो क्रिमिनल है, बिल्कुल क्रिमिनल है। लेकिन उससे पहले आप कहें तो मुझे इसने धमकी दिया तो ठीक है, वो भी क्रिमिनल में चला जाएगा, लेकिन वो आपको फिजिकल हार्म या उस तरह की बात है। लेकिन अगर वो आपको कहता है कि अगली दफा ये असाइनमेंट फिर आपको नहीं मिलेगी, तो इस पे आप क्या कर सकते हैं? मैं ये कहा है अगली दफा असाइनमेंट नहीं मिलेगी, या आपकी फीस हमें मैक्सिमम ये अमाउंट देंगे, आप जितना काम करना करो, वरना अपना काम रिड्यूस करो, और ये चीजें ज्यादा डिटेल में चेक करने की क्या जरूरत है, तो फीस आपको फिर हमने इससे ज्यादा नहीं देनी। ये इंटिमिडेशन थ्रेट्स हैं बेसिकली।
आवाज आ रही है? अली साहब चेक कीजिएगा, मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
जी सर, आपकी आवाज आ रही
जी जी सर, मेरा एक क्वेश्चन था फैमिलियरिटी थ्रेट के हवाले से। आपने डिफाइन किया कि फैमिलियरिटी थ्रेट क्रिएट होता है बिकॉज ऑफ द लॉन्ग टर्म एसोसिएशन, एंड obviously it's measured in terms of the years or the time period. बट मेरा इसमें क्वेश्चन ये है कि हर बंदे की जो है वो एप्टीट्यूड डिफरेंट होता है। कुछ लोग इतने फ्रेंडली होते हैं कि वो 1 साल में फैमिलियरिटी क्रिएट कर लेते हैं, और कुछ मेरी तरह खुश्क मिजाज होते हैं कि 10 साल भी काम करते हैं तो फैमिलियरिटी क्रिएट नहीं होती। तो मैं इसमें जानना ये चाह रहा था कि क्या कोई थ्रेशोल्ड ऑफ द टाइम पीरियड वो ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, या दिस इज समथिंग दैट यू परसीव दैट इज बीइंग द क्रॉसिंग द लिमिट?
देखिए, ये रूल्स होते हैं, प्रिंसिपल होते हैं, इसमें बंदे से बंदे पे नहीं छोड़ा जा सकता। इस पे दे हैव टू लेट ऑन द प्रिंसिपल, बेशक एक खुशक मिजाज है या एक गीले मिजाज का है, उस पर नहीं छोड़ा जा सकता। उन्होंने इसलिए पीरियड दे दिए हैं क्योंकि मोस्ट ऑफ पीपल जो है ना वो टाइम के साथ ही रिलेशनशिप क्रिएट होती है, वरना रिलेशनशिप क्रिएट नहीं होती। आप किसी के घर एक दफा किसी को मिलते हैं, प्लेन में मिल लेते हैं, तो आप एक लंबी रिलेशनशिप वहां से डेवलप कर लेते हैं। आप वरना सिर्फ हाथ मिला कर उतर जाते हैं, सामान का जब वेट कर रहे हो तो उसको भी सार नहीं हिलाते ये। लेकिन ज्यादातर जो है यही है कि जितना लंबा अरसा आप अपने शोल्डर आप करते हैं, उतना दीद लिहाज ज्यादा पैदा होता है उस वजह से।
सर सर थैंक यू सो मच सर, थैंक यू।
जी जी जी, एनी अदर क्वेश्चन?
है। जी, मैंने पूछा आपको कोई क्वेश्चन है, कल चैट पे दोबारा इसको टाइप कर दें ताकि मैं क्वेश्चन सर से ले सकूं।
नहीं सर, मेरे क्वेश्चंस ओवर हैं, प्लीज आप चैट रूम में क्वेश्चंस ले लें।
व्हाट्सएप आपके क्वेश्चंस हैं, आप हैंड रेज करके भी वो कर सकते हैं, माइक में अनम्यूट कर दूंगा आपका।
चैट में कोई है तो पढ़ दें क्या? नहीं है तो फिर पर्सनल करने दें।
नो सर, मेरे ख्याल से अब कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं है। आई वुड लाइक टू इनवाइट मिस्टर इब्न अब्बास, कन्वीनर CPD PIPFA लाहौर ब्रांच कमेटी, फॉर द क्लोजिंग रिमार्क्स।
Thank you so much, Ali Sir. Sir, on behalf of the PIPFA and the Lahore branch committee, I am extremely thankful to you for your precious time. और PIPFA ने और PIPFA ब्रांच कमेटीज ने हमेशा ये कोशिश की है कि जो हमारे मेंबर्स हैं ये ना सिर्फ जो हमारी टेक्निकल स्किल्स हैं उनसे अपडेटेड हों, बल्कि जो हमारी सॉफ्ट स्किल्स हैं और जो एथिकल स्किल्स और मॉरल वैल्यूज हैं उनसे भी अपडेटेड हों। और मेरा ख्याल है कि एथिकल स्किल्स के ऊपर हमारे पास मकबूल साहब से बड़ा कोई नाम नहीं है। मतलब हम इंतहाई मशकूर हैं, मतलब स्टूडेंट्स की तरफ से, मेंबर्स की तरफ से, PIPFA की तरफ से आपका इंतहाई मशकूर हूँ कि आपने हमारे लिए ये कीमती वक्त निकाला। और ना सिर्फ मेरे लिए, मतलब मैं एक फेलो मेंबर हूँ लार्जेस्ट अकाउंटेंसी बॉडी का, लेकिन बहुत सारी चीजें मेरे लिए भी नहीं थी। तो हम मशकूर हैं आपके कि आपने हमारी चीजें रिफ्रेश करवाई और बल्कि अपडेट करवाई। और जो अकाउंटेंसी प्रोफेशन है इसके लिए आपकी खिदमात जो है वो मतलब किसी से ढकी छुपी नहीं है। तो अब इस वक्त जो PIPFA है, मैं मतलब ये बल्कि इसका PIPFA का क्रेडिट है कि ये इसने मतलब आप जैसे अजीम जो हमारे प्रोफेशनल हीरोज और लीडर्स हैं उनको इनवाइट करके जो मेरी तरह के नए लोग हैं जो प्रोफेशन के अंदर आ रहे हैं उनको सीखने का मौका मिलता है। सर, ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ द PIPFA, आई एम एक्सट्रीमली थैंकफुल टू यू सर, सो नाइस ऑफ यू।
आई एम ग्रेटफुल फॉर द ऑर्गेनाइजर जिन्होंने मुझे मौका दिया। आई एम हियर विद यू पीपल। ये टू वे नॉलेज शेयरिंग होती है। आपके क्वेश्चन के जरिए हमें भी कोई नॉलेज आता है, तो इस माय ग्रेट प्लेजर टू विद यू पीपल। और मैं कहता हूँ जैसे कि PIPFA तो वाहिद वो इंस्टीट्यूट है जो मैंने अपने हाथों से बनाया है। इंस्टीट्यूट चारक ऑनर पाकिस्तान तो 61 में बन गया था, when I was only 3-4 year old। और पिप्फा को अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह हमने अपने हाथों से बनाया है, थोड़ी खुशी होती है पिप्फा के लिए कुछ काम करने के लिए। ठीक है, तो जब भी जरूरत पड़े, कोई मेरे पास टाइम हो तो इंशाल्लाह आई विल बी अवेलेबल।
सर, so nice of you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
ओके, अल्लाह हाफिज।